welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo Chu, episode number 37. It's great to be back. My name is Gabe Estel, and I'm here with my co-hosts Jonathan Getz and Dennis Levi Leach. How's it going, guys?
Absolutely great.
Fantastic.
Glad to hear it. The hot stove is heating up. Some major moves have already been had. But first, before we get into that, I want to tell everybody to check out our website, rockchew.com. You can find every episode, as well as a lot of the fun stuff that we've referenced during the episodes. Some of our favorite music, some baseball facts. Our last episode, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, was we were lucky enough to get an interview with a talented singer-songwriter, Edward David Anderson, who is spending a lot of time touring the Southeast. So check his record out, edwarddavidanderson.com. And please listen to our interview with Ed. I think you'll enjoy it. And also you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at RockIn. That's in as in Dioneer Navarro.
Wow.
Keep missing his name. Rock in Chew. So that's at Rock in Chew on Twitter and Instagram. And like us on Facebook and tell your friends to do the same, please. So let's go ahead and start off with the leadoff portion of the show. And as you guys know, during our last episode, the hot stove was just kind of sort of the dial had just been turned on, and now really the biggest fish, so to speak, has already been reeled in.
Yeah.
And just a couple days ago, David Price signed with the Red Sox for what I'm told is the largest pitching contract ever, right?
Yeah.
As far as amount of money, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I would assume.
And he's conveniently $2 million more than Kershaw, I think. Conveniently.
So yeah, the 30 million mark, 30 million annually has been reached.
Yeah.
So Price is going to be making about looks like about $1 million a start.
30 million plus for a guy that's already 30.
I know.
Oh, I want to say it, man. That guy is like a sneeze away from an injury.
And he just started early. He
just seems like he's due.
Yeah.
It just seems like nobody goes their whole career without an injury.
He's been
of some kind, especially as a pitcher.
7 years at least, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's got a lot of innings under his belt. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
because if you remember when the Rays were making their run in the playoffs, and he came in as a reliever, he was like the hot young prospect that they had just drafted.
He's a Vanderbilt guy.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
He started more than 20 games since 2009.
Every season. Wow.
Yeah, so he's already got 1,400 innings under his belt.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a lot on an arm, man.
It is.
Before the age of 30.
When you guys first texted me, my gut reaction was, that's desperate to win type of money.
It is.
Just for I couldn't believe that the Red Sox would give him that.
They finished last 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, you think about I was thinking about this and to reply to Levi's comment. There's a handful of franchises, and there aren't many of them. The Red Sox, the Dodgers, maybe the Yankees, not as much as they used to be, probably.
Angels.
Giants. They just won't tolerate losing for that long. As long as probably our three clubs will.
Yeah, right.
And with the Red Sox, like Jonathan mentioned, they had finished a team that's used to winning World Series when you finish, last place 3 out of 4 years.
Granted, the year that they didn't, they won the World Series.
Austin's either winning the World Series or finishing in last place. I'm sure it was one of those things at the end of last year, heads are gonna roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Owner slamming his fist on the table. And those are the types of organizations that just, they have much less patience than a lot of others do. So while I am surprised that he got paid that high annually, I knew he was going to get the years just because that's number one guy. That's just kind of how the way it works now.
He can opt out after 3 years, though.
Yeah, And God, I mean, what the fuck? And he can opt out as well.
Yeah, it's a sweet deal.
So, and I think there's a new norm kind of emerging that, and only like I mentioned, only a handful of teams really have the luxury of being able to do this, but they just kind of figure those last 3 years are kind of irrelevant, when you're talking like a 7-year deal for a guy that's 30.
Yep.
I think the Cubs kind of accepted that with Lester, there's no way he's going to be like a Cy Young caliber pitcher for 7 years when he's already 31, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I need to figure out if the Cubs are still paying for Edwin Jackson, because he was you know what I mean? Deals like this can come back and bite you, and that's one example. Just there.
I think Jackson was 4 or 5 years, which is too many. But I mean, for these ace guys now, if they're under 31, it's like it's got to be like 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Johnny Cueto is going to get a 6 or 7 deal,
150 million at least, probably.
Million. Jordan Zimmerman got actually kind of a little bit of a tamer deal than he kind of just wanted to get signed, I guess.
Yeah, like I think him and his agent thought that a lot of people might think he was more of a commodity than what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because, or I guess a negative commodity for the fact that he is coming back from an injury, right? Didn't he have Tommy John
Yeah, he did. I think, right?
Jordan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's coming back. He had some kind of injury to where I think he and his agent thought his worth was less, and so they kind of took the first offer that came, is what it sounds like.
He's still really rich,
Oh, yeah, God.
Yeah, even if it's only only $120 million deal, $125 million deal.
Oh,
yeah. So Levi, I want to talk to you about this because, the Cubs were kind of, I don't think any formal offers, from what I hear in the media, formal offers were made to Price, but they were in on the conversation.
Yeah, like they had talked or whatever. The relationship with Joe and Price from working together, and honestly, when I first heard, I was thankful, just because for some reason, I just not that I want to wish bad on anyone, but I just feel like that guy's due for an injury.
Yeah.
And so to give that kind of money to someone his age, I don't know. And his track record in the playoffs isn't that great, right?
No, yeah, the Blue Jays were avoiding starting him.
And so,
against the Royals.
That's not somebody I want to have on my team.
Yeah. I'd still take him on my team.
Well, yeah.
$1 million a year for 7 years.
Yeah, but at that cost,
Yeah. Well, so yeah, the Cubs were kind of, they were in on the conversation, but it looks like, I guess St. Louis was the second choice, apparently, I had heard as well. So Price is off the table and Zimmerman's off the table. So, the only two, there's a lot of pitchers still available, a lot of good pitchers, but, the only two, aces are Greinke and Cueto. Mm-hmm. Two, number one guy type guys.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'd consider Cueto a 1B.
Yeah, right. But then after those guys, you've got a lot of, quality 2 and 3 guys.
Yeah, middle rotation guys, for sure.
And I heard I was listening to another podcast today, and which isn't as nearly as fun or insightful as ours. They were talking about the Cubs maybe having the ability to get 2 starting pitchers, either via signing. And Levi, you might not like the names here that the guy proposed, but he said, what about Samardzija and Lackey?
There has been, over the last 2 weeks, a crap ton of talk about Samardzija coming back. I guess he's visited with Chris Baggio already.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want him again for a second run. I wasn't that impressed with his first run as a Cub, really. I mean, he was our best pitcher on teams during years where where the competition wasn't that.
Yeah, not a whole lot of people in the stadium.
At 29, he's a couple years younger than these other. I don't know how old Zimmerman is, but that's irrelevant now. He's younger than a little bit younger than Price, Cueto, and Greinke. So he's got that going for him, and he will probably be more in like the 4-year or 5-year range. So the commitment necessarily isn't as taxing.
Well, and I've heard he'd take less money just to stay in Chicago.
Yeah, he's a Northwest Indiana guy, and he's played for both Chicago teams. He's coming off a bad year, but there's. I'm not defending Smart. His tenure with the White Sox was really bad, but I still think there's some good pitching that's left.
Oh yeah, I think he could be a really. I don't think he'll ever be ace material.
Oh, I don't think he's a number 1 guy either. I'm
not even sure a number 2 guy.
Thought he might become one, but I don't think so now. He's more like a 2 or a 3, and I would be totally comfortable with him as like my 3. Which.
Well, yeah, and I mean if somehow the Cubs signed both Lackey and Zamarja, like that would make Zamarja the number 5 guy, I would think. Because I mean we have Lester, right? Lester Arrieta. Hamill or yeah.
I'd put Zamarja above Hamill or Hendricks. Yeah.
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 I'll have to.
Yeah. Don't hate on him that hard, Levi.
I'm trying not to, but man, he just left a sour taste in my mouth.
He's like, I'll let him wash my jock, I guess.
I watched a lot of games where he showed, I don't know, like almost like Zambrano, like.
Oh yeah, he gets
just like getting pissed off.
Yeah,
and like, granted, I want that. Like, I want a competitor, but like,
don't let him face the Royals.
You can tell when it's like Zamarja's just like pissed off and doesn't want to pitch, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So, do you think with the way that the Price signing went, that we're due for like Bryce Harper or Trout? Are they going to get $400 million on their next contract?
Harper, like the next level.
Money whenever, what is it, 2 more years he's got, something like that.
Harper will be a free agent in 2019, it says. He's arbitration eligible after next season, I think, or 2017.
Or his client too.
But he's not going to be a free agent, it says on Baseball Reference, until 2019. And then Trout's a free agent the next year, after 2020.
They still won't be 30 yet, right? Either one of those
They'll
guys?
be Harper will be 29, I believe. Yeah, 28. No, I'm sorry, 27. Harper will be 27 when he's a free agent.
Yeah, Harper's going to get the biggest contract ever, I think, for an offensive player. I don't. I mean, that's just kind of.
It's going to be at least $350, probably $400 million.
Well, and what
10
the
years.
thing is, if Trout's the next year, is he going to top it the next year?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Like if Harper would set that precedent, the next player to come along that's going to be awesome that everybody's going to want to sign is Trout.
Yeah.
I would be over 30, right, at that time, or no?
So Harper is currently 23, and Trout is currently. Sorry.
Harper would be like 27. Trout would be. How old did you say?
He's only like a year or two older, right?
Trout is currently. Sorry, it's not doing my math here for me.
No, just.
He was born in 91. He's currently 24.
So yeah, he'd be 29.
Yeah,
and with the way he's playing, those guys will get huge deals. They'll both get 10-year deals for a shitload of money.
I mean, we're talking we're getting up to $500 million now for a contract.
I tell you,
$500 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That's probably awesome.
Harper will play the Yankees. So the Cubs too. I think the speculation that's been going on for a while is when do they trade one of these pieces, right? Yeah. So if you don't want to really pony up the money for another potential ace, like if you and I haven't really heard the Cubs attached to Greinke.
No.
Or Cueto, I don't know, maybe, but I'm with Levi. I don't see them, even though they do have cash now, I don't see them spending the type of money they did last year, like with somebody like Lester. And Greinke would be even more than that.
Yeah, it's too many eggs in that basket.
Yeah. Like they could swing a trade for like a really quality guy. Like the name I heard brought up was, because the Braves have no offense, maybe Shelby Miller.
Yeah, I think everybody wants Shelby Miller.
Yeah. Yeah, he does, because he's the guy that like throws like 100, right? I mean, he can.
I don't know anything about him except that he was on the
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
I faced him some on the Cardinals. I got to watch him pitch a few times, but other than that, I don't know a ton about him.
Young, because a lot of people think like he's good, but he hasn't really like totally broken through yet. But he's right on the verge of it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like maybe like, like package like Soler and somebody else, and maybe get him. That might be a possibility.
Get him and Hayward, and then you have the two guys involved in that trade. Because it was Hayward for Miller, right?
Miller, yeah, right. I think it was.
Well, Hayward, the biggest offensive target this offseason. I was pretty high on that guy last year, and he did produce in St. Louis, but the power's not there like people thought it would be. He's a hell of a defensively. He's awesome, but it's. I guess I never really I thought, and he's young. I mean, he's only 25, so he's got that going for him. But like people are saying, like, man, like 20 mil a year. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like, God.
I know.
You just, and I hate to sound like, like all that, like always complaining about money in baseball. I mean, hell, it's not our money, but I guess I get really indignant when like I hear about like, I'm like, like 20 million, whereas I shouldn't care.
Right.
But
it's jarring to think.
I mean, Hayward's really good, but he's still, I wouldn't say he's unproven talent, but he's
a bit of a disappointment at the plate.
Yeah, like the power's not there, even though he's built like a Greek god.
Right, exactly.
It looks like he would just type of guy that would hit 45 home runs.
Yeah.
He's more like, 14 home runs.
Yeah.
So, but the defense is great.
He's like a poor man's Adrian Gonzalez at the plate.
Kind of, yeah.
Seems like Agon should hit 40 a year, but he gets like 24.
Yeah. So I don't know. And now they're saying, the Cubs might be in on him, but he might end up back in St. Louis as well. I don't know, but he's a flawed top target. You know what I mean? Like for
he's not proven.
Right, for the best offensive player this offseason, which most people would agree is him, the best offseason free agent.
He's
kind of weaker ones in a while. You know what I mean? Like the big offensively. So, anyway.
Yeah. Stove's just heating up.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. And, I love baseball, so I like a lot of some of the smaller moves that are made. So I'm curious to see how some of these other guys shake out. Those pitchers we were talking about a minute ago, like Mike Leake, Ian Kennedy, maybe Lackey, maybe Samardzija. So, I'll be curious to see how those guys shake out, and then kind of like where some people end up, what the trade targets are. With the White Sox, I don't know if you guys saw, we signed Alex Avila to a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Like 1 year, $2 million, so it's kind of low risk, maybe $2.5 million. He, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, he was awesome.
But then he's had like 12 concussions.
Yeah, and we non-tendered Tyler Flowers yesterday or today, and while Tyler Flowers is only like a 225 career hitter, he's one of the best framers in baseball. He's really good at that. And also, he started to pick up his offense last year. He kind of like hovered around 250 or so. So I just don't, what I'm trying to say is, long story short, I don't see how platooning Alex Avila and Navarro is better than Flowers. You know what I mean? Like,
right. you guys didn't really get much
this
of an upgrade.
It's this patchwork veteran, cheap. It's this, this nickel and dime, So,
oh yeah.
When I say nickel and dime, I mean millions of dollars. But
yeah,
I don't see the White Sox. We are so many pieces away from being a contender. I think that it's not. This problem isn't going to be fixed in one off season.
Yeah, you're just burning some time in the meantime.
Right.
You need somebody back there.
We need a whole new infield. We need an entirely new infield. Maybe a Abreu, but I don't necessarily know if he's going to be they're going to move him to DH or keep him at first base. My prediction is this: the White Sox don't ever like to admit that they're rebuilding. They just don't. Like some teams are comfortable with it and they say, yeah, this is the way it is. The White Sox aren't like that. They're kind of stubborn. So even if they're like a 10 game below 500 team, which we kind of are right now, we'll still admit like we got a chance. I see us doing something dumb and like signing a veteran like David Freese. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like somebody who's a good player, but not a great player.
They've plateaued.
Who has plateaued, who you'll probably have to kind of pay a little more than they deserve as well.
Just because of the name.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see them doing kind of something stupid like that. Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Whereas I would just rather take the approach, trade Chris Sale for the best prospects you can get, which you could get any team's best prospects for Chris Sale, and just be comfortable with kind of sucking for a year or two.
Yeah.
And then, draft well, maybe, scout the international market, and then come back in 2 years and start kicking ass,
Yeah.
That's what I want. But I don't think they'll do that. They like to do very patchwork kind of things. So, anyway. All right, moving on. We'll keep everybody abreast of the free agent. I'm sure you'll see us talking about it on social media as well. Well, let's hold on though one second. The Royals, Jonathan,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Gordon is not coming back, right? I mean, it's
probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
All right. I figured as much because I've heard God, maybe somebody like Baltimore might be interested in him. I think a lot of people are interested in him.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So he's not coming back, but
I think just as long as he doesn't go to Detroit is all Kansas City's hoping for.
Right.
It'd just be kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah. So you won the World Series. It's not like you really need much anyway, So.
Yep. Midwestern World Series town problems.
Yes. Well, moving on. Tonight, we've got a fun topic for you. Talking about sort of the physical and visual side of music. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite album covers and the artists behind them.
And some people might be saying, what are these album covers? Spotify, I mean, they have an icon, but
right.
What is that?
Yeah, so we've got some actual physical album covers to share with you. And then we're going to talk about some ones that stand out to us. And so, I guess we'll just let it rip. Levi, why don't you tell us what covers your profile?
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about 4 different artists. 2 of them work in mediums, and then 2 of them are photographers. The first is a woman who I'm sure everyone has seen an album cover by this woman. Her name is Margot Nahas, Nahas. And her most famous album cover is this one right here.
Yeah.
And so...
will you explain to our audio-only podcast listeners that album cover?
This is Van Halen, 1984. And... classic shot of the angel smoking the cigarette.
The cherub.
Yeah, and so she had this. Like, they came to her and wanted to see, like, what she had, and she showed them her portfolio. And this was like one of the first ones they saw, and they're like, "That's the album cover."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was straight from her portfolio. It wasn't commissioned.
It was not commissioned. Yeah. And another band that she did all the artwork for is the band Autograph.
Nice. Love
this is this is Sign In Please that has
radios on that.
Man. Yeah, turn up the radio. And the other covers from Autograph are excellent too, all robots and very futuristic. She also did Stevie Wonder's The Secret Life of Plants. She designed the Sammy Hagar VOA logo with like the eagle.
Was it? Oh, okay, the logo. Because like the album cover's like down like in a parachute on the Capitol.
Yeah. But like where it says like VOA, it's like it's all like she was an airbrush artist.
Yeah. He's got the jumpsuit on. He's like
yeah, that's
I had that.
That's just how we went to work every day. Don't knock it. She also did the artwork for Rick James' Stone City Band record, and she's really talented. She I don't think does any artwork like this anymore. I think she does jewelry now. Cool. So you can look her up on the web. Margot Nahas, I believe is how you say her last name.
How do you spell it?
Nahas.
Okay.
The next one, I don't have anything by him to show you, unfortunately. But it's Derek Riggs, and Derek Riggs is famous for doing all the Iron Maiden artwork. He came up with Eddie, the classic Iron Maiden cartoon, and it was one of those things where he showed them a portfolio, and he had the kind of the thing going, and they made him make him have long hair. That was like their stipulation. They're like, Eddie has to have long hair,
right?
And all of his artwork is excellent. He kind of, I think, got into a riff with the band, so he doesn't do anything for them anymore. But
really?
He did, somewhere like Nature or Number of the Beast and Somewhere in Time.
Oh yeah, like all of their famous albums.
Yeah. Power Slave. Yeah,
and
awesome. I love all the different Eddie backdrops. I love an Eddie and Future Cop Eddie and
right.
Getz and I saw him, man. Like all those Eddies came out.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
I mean, if you think about it, it has to be one of the most iconic images in the history of rock, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't think one band has like a mascot that's as noticeable or recognizable.
Right.
This guy is kind of like a not as awesome Eddie. You know what I mean?
Who is that?
Megadeth's guy.
Oh, Megadeth. Yeah.
I'm talking about.
The piece sells, but who's buying?
Yeah.
He's got the sort of gas mask.
Post-apocalyptic. Yeah.
Right.
He's like the inferior Eddie.
I still like him. I think he's cool.
I love Megadeth. Yeah. Anyway,
I'd still run from him.
Yeah. Right. Listen.
In a totally metal sort of way.
Right.
The last two. The first one is Ethan Russell, and he is a photographer who is well known. Everyone has seen his records. He's did Let It Be. He did Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. He did Who's Next.
Oh, wow.
He did also the two records I'm going to hold up. Here's the first one. The Rolling Stones Through the Past Darkly. The Big Hits Volume 2. It's like their faces are all smushed up against a pane of glass. And then one of my favorite... We all had this CD. It was the CD everybody bought of The Who in the 90s, if you were into The Who. He took this.
Yeah.
Which is an epic photo of The Who.
Yeah, from Who's Better, Who's Best.
And I will say, man, in LP form, you get a lot... Because, I mean, I was used to seeing it in, like, a CD booklet size, you know? To, like, be able to have it as, like, a 12 by 12-inch piece of art.
That's 7th grade, man, and it definitely changed my directions.
Dude, that was the Who CD you had to have in the 90s.
Yeah.
For some reason, Phil Bozarth had 2 copies, and I think I bought one of them from him.
Nice.
The only complaint about those albums is it's the edited version of Won't Get In and Who Are You?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like the radio cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That photo's probably because that album came out in like the late '80s, as a compilation. But
yeah, I want to say it was
5 or so, like the photo.
88.
Yeah, I mean, I think the photo's from like mid.
Oh yeah.
Like
meaty kind of
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's good stuff.
everybody has seen his the Get Your Ya-Ya's out with the Stones, where it's Charlie Watts and like the donkey and shit. It's just like absurd.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's good stuff. It's well framed for sure.
And the last one, I don't have anything to show, but Jonathan can pull stuff. His name is Francis Wolff, and he was basically like kind of, he got some producer credits, I believe, there, but he was like the house photographer at Blue Note.
Oh,
and
nice.
so the John Coltrane Blue Train cover, he did that. He
had all those
like,
good noirish images.
Yeah. Herbie Hancock, Art Blakey,
mid-century
Miles
modern
Davis,
stuff. Yeah.
Sonny Rollins, Jimmy Smith. Just there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Just iconic like shots.
The design of those albums is impeccable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just real clean, well executed. You could tell it was a Blue Note album.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very
so yeah, those were 4 guys that I think deserve mention, or 4 people, and I would say everybody has seen one of those people's albums sometime in their life.
Yeah.
Hey Levi, with any of those guys, if they have links, if they have like active websites, I'll post them on the episode webpage. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
right on. All right. So I guess I'll go.
Sure.
I'm gonna focus on a couple different artists and then a couple random ones. Ed Fotheringham is a guy from, I believe he's from Australia, but he moved to Northwest Washington in the early 90s, and he happened to have some connections when a bunch of people started to need album covers, and so he did Mudhoney. He did a lot of Mudhoney's work. Ed has a very kind of sketchy modern feel to him, and with Piece of Cake here, and My Brother the Cow he also did, and actually my favorite is a Mudhoney compilation, March to Fuzz, nice. Which has awesome colors. It's really great stuff. He also does a lot of
60s kind of look to it. That
exactly. Yeah, and this actually hung on my wall for several years. But he also does like kids books, and he does jazz album covers as well. But yeah, we even have a poster of his hanging in our over our mantle. He does some pretty cool stuff of like the Space Needle. But yeah, Ed Fotheringham is his name, and he said it was interesting that as soon as he started doing that work for them in Seattle, he got some cachet, and he immediately moved out to New York and started doing work for like really fancy publications, just based on that reputation that he had built so quickly. And then to actually stay in the Northwest, one of my favorite graphic designers of all graphic designers. By the way, I am a graphic designer. I get paid to do stuff like that, but not nearly to this execution, is the Ames Brothers. And the Ames Brothers' most famous client is Pearl Jam, and they designed a few Pearl Jam albums, including probably my favorite album design of all time, which is Vitology, which looks like an old book. It's based on an actual old book that, yes, of course, I have a copy of.
Fucking dork.
Vitology were health books in their early 20th century, and they released them like every year for whatever 20 years. And so they modeled it after that, and it actually almost delayed the release of the album because they had to get rights to some of the stuff. But it's got a pretty badass booklet in there with lots of it's very strange health stuff.
Pearl Jam took on some really cool packaging, in the early 90s, which I think started to get bands to sort of think about packaging in new ways and stuff.
Right. I mean, they had
No Code.
Yeah. So No Code, which if people don't know, if you fold it out, You know, it has you can see the eyeball with the triangle around it, which is, you know, fun stuff. Built with Polaroids that Ed took, I guess. And then the Yield cover, which has, you know, the die cut Yield sign in there. So pretty creative stuff. Ames Brothers, you know, I have tons of their posters also around me.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, the quality of stuff is unparalleled, I think, in rock and roll design, if I do say so. So yeah, for contemporary stuff, you know, post 1980, 1990, that's what I prefer. Otherwise, one of my favorites is Allman Brothers Fillmore East classic shot of the band in an alley.
Yeah.
Not in New York City, mind you. Actually, the shot was in Macon. Classic shot, of the band in front of their gear in an alley, and Greg Allman laughing uproariously because Dwayne Allman had just went and scored from his dealer and is actually hiding it with the shit-eaten grin on his face. What he had just scored from his dealer at the end of the alley. Then on the back is all the roadies with...
Redbeard.
Yeah, they're all sporting Pabst, PBR Tall Boys, which is Jim Marshall is the photographer for this. He bribed them with the PBR Tall Boys, so Jim Marshall also did lots of famous stuff, including the Hendrix Monterey Pop, lighting the guitar on fire. You know, where he's summoning the fire from the guitar. That's Jim Marshall there. And speaking of Allman Brothers Band, James Flournoy Holmes designed that famous Eat a Peach cover, which I think is probably one of the most iconic images in the history of rock. But maybe I'm partial to that. And with the peach, you know, the truck and the peach on the front, and the watermelon on the car on the back, and then the inside illustration, which, you know, we've all glanced at before, is just
trippy. You could spend an hour staring at it.
You know, and there's lots of there are lots of breasts and dongs in it, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And Flournoy Holmes did a lot of stuff for southern rock bands, including this Marshall Tucker album,
Nice.
which is a beautiful album cover, for their self-titled release. And yeah, they did a lot of stuff down there, including Driving and Crying, and actually my favorite Widespread Panic album.
Okay, Till the Medicine Takes.
Till the Medicine Takes, yeah, same guy. And actually, I'm fortunate because this has like the whole reflective hologram thing on it.
Yeah.
The later issued versions of it's like a bad photocopy of it's pretty. They couldn't afford probably to keep pressing that.
Sure.
So yeah, Flournoy Holmes, look him up. He's got a huge beard and still working.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my last one that I really like is by this woman who I found nothing else about her anywhere. It's Traffic's on the Road.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Which I think is a cool kind of postmodern.
Very craft
illustration. Yes.
It is.
Yeah. Great colors on there.
Autobomb there. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the sleeves, the record sleeves are pretty cool. All the street signs.
I have that record. It's a really
yeah.
a good record.
But yeah, nothing about her. It's cool though because allmusic.com, they have a you can sort by artist.
Oh wow, by album
credits.
cover artist. Okay.
Yeah. So they even categorize all of them in their database, and so you can see, you know, exactly everything that Flournoy Holmes has worked on or been credited for.
That's cool.
But for her, and find her name here, Ann Borthwick. Nothing else on Ann Borthwick. That's a bunch of art that I enjoy.
Sweet.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, are we going to go back around and talk about the ones we hate?
Oh, we can, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Gabe, you go ahead, and then we'll talk about ones that we hate.
All right. Um, sure. Well, the three that I selected, and I've got one physical album that I'm going to share, but these three I don't have, so in front of me, but you'll be able to see them soon. I chose these because I thought they were really evocative of the decade in which they were released. So that was my criteria. So these are three of my favorite album covers that are very emblematic of their decade. The first one is Forever Changes, the Love record.
I had that one out.
Yeah. Not only is a phenomenal album, but yeah, there you go. It's by an artist by the name of Bob Pepper, who did a lot of really cool sci-fi paperback covers as well,
Okay.
like Philip K. Dick books, and he's got a really cool style, and yeah, so that's always been one of my favorite album covers.
That is totally iconic, especially for the time.
Absolutely, yeah, 1967, I think.
And
so.
his album cover for the Franz Schubert is amazing.
Mhm.
If you Google Bob Pepper, Franz Schubert is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a great artist. Yeah, everything's got sort of, I don't know. His stuff's kind of his those Philip K. Dick covers kind of have this sort of Clockwork Orange type feel to them. They're I don't know how else to put it, but yeah. So that's one of my favorites from the '60s. One of my favorites from the '70s is Al Stewart's record "Year of the Cat." Definitely Al Stewart's biggest record from '76.
Yeah.
And I like the I like the illustration.
Yeah, the cartoon style.
Yeah, that style. It's this woman who's really obsessed with feline things.
Yeah.
You kind of just see her in the mirror, in the reflection up there, as well. It's by Colin Elgee is the name of the artist, but he was working for Hypnosis. Which, I think if we bring up album covers, we have to mention them because, you name an iconic British record from the 70s, and and they did it, particularly a lot of the prog stuff. So, the Pink Floyd albums they did a lot of the UFO records, including Phenomenon, which is also one of my favorite album covers as well. They did Alan Parsons, I, Robot. The list. They did Zeppelin. They did Into the Outdoor. They did Presence. You name Dark Side of the Moon. You name it. They kind of own the '70s. So this is a piece of work in their portfolio, but it's not. It wasn't done by one of their more well-known artists. So. It wasn't by the famous guy, Strom Thorgerson, is that his name? That was, I think, for Hypnosis.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah. I believe.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name. But it was one of their lesser known artists, but still, part of the great Hypnosis catalog from the '70s. So yeah, Al Stewart's Year of the Cat. I love that cartoon kind of feel to it. They did Genesis records as well. And for the '80s, I remember when this album came out in 1985 or '86, and let me see, I think it's '86 actually. I remember seeing the painting and always just my whole life really liking the painting. And it's certainly an '80s painting. You see it and it just immediately you're like, yeah, wow, that was definitely painted in the '80s. But I like that, and the music video kind of shows the painting made. It's "Play Deep" by The Outfield, which I think is a great pop rock record as well. And the art is by a woman by the name of Patty Dryden. And her other album covers, like the only one I kind of recognize that she did other than this Outfield one was she did one of Squeeze's album covers.
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's this sort of abstract painting of the three band members within the outfield. And I've always wanted just like a really big picture of it to put on my wall,
Yeah.
on a backdrop, or
We'll have one of those like inspirational quotes underneath it. Josie's on a vacation far away.
right.
Like ... like inspirational wall quote.
Yeah. 61 seconds is all it takes. So yeah, so that it's one of those album covers that just kind of stuck with me my whole life. And then, I bought that CD. I don't have it handy, or I think it might have been I might have sold it when I went digital, totally online. But yeah, it always just stuck with me. And it's just, if I think of an 80s album cover, um, that's one of the first ones that comes to mind,
Yeah.
No, like, Levi showed the Van Halen cover, and there are a lot of covers from the 80s that are more iconic, but that just, to me, represents that moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah, so there's also kind of on the 80s kick. I've been listening to more, as I've told you guys, kind of some more electronic music lately. Not necessarily like the Skrillex, David Guetta kind of dance. more of the kind of the chill stuff, and then some of the kind of quirkier stuff. And there's a guy, if you ever get a chance, I think he's German, DJ named Kavinsky is the name he goes by. So just Google any of his stuff. It's all 80s inspired, and it's really cool. So we'll post a link to some of his artwork, or the album covers line. And these are certainly like, they're throwing the 80s in your face with these kind of new throwback covers. There's another band called VHS Dreams, obviously. That, and there's another one called Miami Horror. Some of their album covers too, I really dig as well, and all of them have kind of a throwback feel to them, and even the music itself kind of has that sort of, they're influenced by kind of the Jan Hammer, kind of stuff from the 80s, which I like. So yeah, so a lot of the sort of more electronic music, I think, right now is putting out some of the cooler album covers in an era where, the physical album, itself maybe doesn't get as much attention as it used to,
right.
obviously.
Right.
So yeah, I'm always drawn to some of those newer electronic album covers. Really cool. And then, well, the one that I'll show you is from '69 as well, that I've got here. Oops. King Crimson. Right? This one right here.
Legendary
album cover. I had to, this is, I saw that you guys had physical, copies. I'm like, I got to grab something. So I went with this. Love this work here. And then also, if you open up the inside, right? The cover guy by Barry Godber. I need to get a new sleeve here. But anyway, yeah, this is the image on the inside here. So this is pretty tripped out shit here. So yeah, it in the court of the King Crimson. So here we are.
Good stuff.
This is one of my. Lastly, as well, and Levi and I were talking about this the other day. The music is kind of is okay. They've obviously had a great single in Driver's Seat, but all of Sniffin' the Tears album covers from like the late '70s, early '80s are all really good too.
Well, and they are all the singer
In the band.
They're like photorealistic paintings.
Yeah, they're very realistic paintings. And they're all just really cool. They're all kind of naughty, kind of like sexual, but they're also kind of dark too. You know what I mean? There's kind of this underlying kind of darkness too. So yeah, they're really kind of seductive album covers.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I could listen to Driver's Seat like over and over. Just like the tone of that song, I love. I don't know. It's got almost like kind of a melancholy tone, but then they like kick it into the chorus and stuff, and I don't know. It's a great tune.
Yeah, it is, and he's got kind of a nasally, kind of Dylan-esque voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, killer song. But yeah, they're all their album covers. I've listened to most of those albums, and some of the albums are kind of ho hum. But the artwork is awesome on those snippets.
Well, and just that besides being the vocalist, he's like taking the time to photorealistically paint all their album covers.
Yeah. He was immersed in his work. Yeah, definitely. So those are my selections.
Well done.
Yeah. So yeah. As far as ones that I hate, I'll let you guys start with those.
I was trying to think. I was going to let Jonathan go while I try and think of one. I just can't see.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to start with probably one of the most important albums of all time, and we just take its cover for granted. Well, yeah, it's a risque cover, but for some reason we don't question the quality of it, and I think we should. And it's Nirvana's Nevermind. It's an awful album cover with the baby swimming, floating in front of the dollar bill, the awfully photoshopped dollar bill with a hook through it. If it didn't say Nirvana Nevermind and said it could say anything else, and you would always see it in the cutout bin, you'd be like, oh god, I fucking hate that cover. You see it everywhere. But since it's one of the most important albums of all time, you don't say that. You just take it for as part of it. Apparently, Cobain originally wanted the cover to be an underwater birth, an actual photo of an underwater birth, but they couldn't swing it, I guess, too graphic, or it would cost too much. So the photographer went to a literal baby pool and snapped this photo one afternoon. And then I guess they put in the dollar bill later in Photoshop 1.0.
Yeah, it's awful looking.
So yeah, it's bad. But a lot of early '90s stuff, like Pearl Jam's 10 album, I think is it's kind of pink and it's got them with doing the like the basketball pose, and I think it's kind of cheesy. When they reissued it, they muted it a bit. They made it more kind of a tan, golden color.
It's like a brown paper bag.
Right. Yeah. So, and that helped. But after 10, I think they got a lot better. But yeah, there was a lot of poor design in the 90s.
In the 90s, the advent of computer-aided graphics.
Yeah.
That, or everybody went with kind of like the blurred photo.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of care put into it, or maybe there was a lot of thought and I just didn't pick up on it. But yeah, everybody just had like a blurred photo, or like Levi said, it was just computers hadn't come that far yet, so everyone
they were using them poorly.
Yeah. Technology, and it just wasn't there yet.
Yeah, they wanted it to work, but it didn't work. Yeah. So and lots of purples for some reason, and mauves in 90s
it's the
design.
Rockies, if you want to put a baseball. Like before the Rockies, like purple just had no place in baseball.
Right? And then the Diamondbacks took it for a while too.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, hey, what I forgot, one of my favorite fun album covers is Beck's The Information, where it came with a grid, and so it was a blank grid, and then it came with a pack of stickers. Nice. And you got to decorate the grid as you saw fit. So this was my decoration of The Information. I think actually I'm going to add another one to it because they give you a couple extra grids in there. So I think I'm going to change it up.
Cool. Yeah. It's always neat when they can incorporate different artistic aspects, or like, I remember there's a Three Dog Night record where you get like some like cards of the band or something. I'm trying to think of which Three Dog. I think it's the Three Dog Night record that has like wildflowers or sunflowers on the cover.
Dude, speaking of Three Dog Night records, that creepy ass album cover that whatever it is giving birth to a record. Talking about?
Yeah, they had like a Band-Aid over it or something, and you had to like peel it away to see it.
Dude, that will give you nightmares if you look at that album cover. Yeah, there's my vote, dude.
There it is. Yeah, Hard Labor is the name of the album.
Hard Labor.
Oh.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I guess artistically, it has. It's from the '70s, so it's just creepy. So yeah, and like a pop act like Three Dog Night put out that album cover. It's like, whoa.
That's messed up.
Yeah. For mine that I don't like, not only is this an album of the Hagar era, but Balance by Van Halen. What the hell? You got these naked kids split in half on a seesaw. Like, what? Yeah, and it's just the font's ugly.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretentious, like it's just what are you doing?
I mean, I guess I'll be bold and say I don't know if they had a decent Van Hagar album cover. I mean, like 5150 is what, like a muscle guy holding the earth or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or something. And
then, it was just a black and white photo.
Yeah, it's like just a black and white. It's like it's their Meet the Beatles version.
Are those actual conjoined twins on Balance?
If it is, then that makes it even creepier. No.
Yeah. That album creeps me out. I'll when one of your favorite bands puts out a dumb album cover, that makes it even harder. And it's their worst album, but also, I mean, the By Your Side cover is just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all of them in like costumes, and it would be
makeup.
it's like ironic. You know what I mean?
Like, well, and they're all in like white. So like, I'm like, is that like? It's got to be like the Speed era of the band. Like they're all just like on speed, and they're like, "This is a great fucking idea, man. Let's just put some fucking suits on."
I want to know what was going through Eddie's head. He told me he had to put on a costume.
Well, and like boa, doesn't one of them have a boa?
Yeah.
Ed or somebody's got like a boa on.
So Amorca is the best album cover of their catalog?
I think so. Yeah.
Southern Harmony is in a close second, I'd say.
Yeah.
For a band photo, that's
right.
Cool. I was also going to think about, are there any, if just like the photo of the artist sometimes, doesn't really always, a lot of times I think we're kind of more drawn to artwork.
Right.
But for some reason, Robert Palmer on Riptide, he's got a kind of that shit-eating grin on his face.
Oh yeah.
It's like Palmer, you good-looking son of a bitch, you've done it again.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Look at that fucker on.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For sure.
It's like, because somebody like, photographer was like, because Palmer was a Mac, like they were just have fun last night, Robert. He's like, just totally, I say, just waltz down from it.
Dude, and speaking of covers, man, he had some classic covers.
Oh yeah.
The one Clues where he's the Robert Palmer album called Clues. He's wearing like a 80s Walkman with like a cassette Walkman in the middle of like an ocean. It's like a drawing of him.
Yeah.
And then the Double Fun record.
Yes.
It's got like there's like a pool and they're like sitting there and like you just see like her bikini top laying out.
Palmer, you sleazy SOB.
Yeah.
So yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if I could, like if there's like some kind of like artist generator, I would take like Bob Seger and Robert Palmer and like pour them together and like see what came out. It's like two of the greatest forces ever. Like the cockiness of Palmer, but just like the screeching, kick-ass songwritiness of Seger.
You might have made the perfect artist there. Put those two together. I agree. Definitely, it would be. Yeah. Stranger in Riptide, the album's called, Yeah.
But no, I mean overall, like in terms of like an overarching commentary, I guess, when I stroll through RDO, which is one of the reasons I'm really gonna miss RDO, is that you see these album covers, new releases on tomorrow. It'll be all the new releases, and you can just keep scrolling and scrolling, and I will literally judge the book by its cover.
Yeah.
And press play based on the album cover because it says a lot. It says what the artist thinks about their music and how much thought that they put into the album cover itself. It doesn't look cheap. It looks well produced. That sort of thing. Now it's not foolproof.
No, but I agree. That's what a good album is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you be like, I should listen to this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And yeah, that's how I've come across some of these really interesting electronic albums lately. Is some of the album art's awesome. So
yeah.
That's what makes new country even more terrible, I think, is because all of the album covers are just like, you look at all the albums of like, any country artist from like the late 80s, early 90s to now, it's just a different photo of the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
like it's like a Christmas photo.
Yeah. Like they got a coat thrown over their shoulder on one, like,
Yeah, right. One of them maybe maybe you might see like kind of like a blurred barn behind them. Maybe they're feeling adventurous, Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and go on then to our
the bullpen
recommendations.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads me perfectly, because mine is a guy who was in the country rock vein for the latter portion of his career. And that is an album I picked up at a thrift store, and it's pretty good. It's from 1987, and it's Doug Sahm Live.
Oh, Doug Sahm? Yeah.
Doug Sahm,
right.
yeah. And so he was, for the folks at home who don't know, he was the Sir Douglas of the Sir Douglas Quintet. And they had a big hit in the 60s with a song called She's About a Mover, which there's a really great video on YouTube of them doing. It's black and white. And the reason they called themselves the Sir Douglas Quintet is because they, like, if you hear them talk, they were from Texas. They're like, kind of rednecky Texas people.
Oh, yeah.
But they did it to, like, capitalize on all the British invasion stuff. And it, like, kind of worked. Like, they got really popular. Mm-hmm. And, in that song on YouTube, they do like a little dance as they sing it. It's very British, but it's like some guys from Texas pretending to be British.
Nice. Is Mendocino on there by any chance?
No, not on this. This is it's got quite a few covers. It's got "Turn On Your Love Light," "Stagger Lee,"
nice,
"Mr. Pitiful," the Otis Redding tune. "He Don't Love You Like I Do," "Next Time You See Me." So yeah, there's like 3 Grateful Dead songs the Dead played. He does a James Brown medley on here of "All Go Crazy," "Think," "Please Please Please," and "Night Train." And this is, I want to say, like right before he kind of got the Texas tornadoes going, because that was going on sometime in the late 80s, early 90s as well, where it was Doug and Freddie Fender and I want to say, who's it? His accordion player. Oh, Jaco. I want to say Jaco something. But anyway, the Texas Tornadoes are great too. If you're into kind of Tex-Mex country rock,
yeah. Oh yeah,
like them as well.
Definitely.
And like I said, this solo live record kind of just appears like him just kind of playing a bunch of songs he wanted to play, because like I said, most of them are covers.
Nice.
But it's good. Yeah, check it out.
Doug Sahm. Yeah, the Bottle Rockets. It's been probably about 15 years ago or now. They did an album of all his songs.
Nice.
It's pretty good too.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. Mine is, this was a find, especially exciting for me. I'm big into Brazilian Tropicalia music, and this is a compilation called Brazilian Guitar Fuzz Bananas.
Wow.
Because of course it's called that. It's a compilation of Tropicalia, like psychedelic Tropicalia, a little bit more psychedelic, from like 67 to 76. Incidentally, it starts off with a cover of like the Batman theme, but it's pretty awesome. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about it other than if you like awesome fuzzy guitars, and with kind of a new angle that they were doing down in Brazil in the 60s and 70s. Yes. This is a hell of a compilation. I don't know if you can find it online or anything.
I just got some Sergio Mendes records the other day.
Yeah.
And like he's from that whole era, that whole scene.
Yeah, he was around then. Stuff. This will take you on a trip, man. I highly recommend it. Brazilian Guitar Fuzz Bananas.
Nice.
Cool. Good deal. I like the name. And for names for this album, I'm going to recommend. This is a relatively new record. Just came out a couple weeks ago, actually. The artist's name is named Mark McGuire. So fits our podcast, right? But he spells it MC, then capital Guire.
Like Dan.
Yeah, right. So he's also played under the names People's Parties, Sunwatcher, as well, and then Skyramps. He's always got pretty good names for his projects. And yeah, he's a kind of an experimental sort of electronic artist. But he plays, in addition to playing, a MacBook, he plays he plays guitars as well on his stuff. So there is sort of still kind of an organic feel to some of it. The album is called Beyond Belief, and it's definitely one of my favorite records of the year so far.
Wow.
I'd be curious to hear what either of you guys thought of it as well. It's all instrumental, aside from maybe there's a chorus to a few tunes, and some really kind of trippy, but also a lot of it's really kind of positive as well, for lack of a better term. It's kind of, some of it's sort of uplifting sounding as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be curious to see what you guys thought of it. And it's a journey, you know what I mean? You got a 16-minute number on there, a 15-minute number, a 10-minute number. And it seems like there's sort of a theme to it as well. There's even though it's instrumental, and you look at the song titles and the how those songs sound, there's kind of there seems to be sort of a storyline as well. So yeah, Mark McGuire, Beyond Belief. Really.
Another instrumental record that just dropped recently was that Circles Around the Sun.
Oh yeah, the Neil Casal thing. Yeah.
It's all the music that he made for the Grateful Dead set breaks, so it's just all this instrumental. Really? It's all instrumental music.
Right on.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any of it, so I'm.
I heard it at the show, and I wondered everybody was kind of wondering what it was. Everybody was like, huh? So yeah, it was cool though that they commissioned him, to make their set break music. I think that's pretty cool, as opposed to just playing, whatever.
I listened to part of the compilation that they released from that weekend.
Oh, the last show.
Yeah, I didn't like the slowed down Shakedown Street. It was kind of sluggish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about that. I've got to listen to that one again. I've listened to the last night and the first night. Shakedown kicked off the second night, so
okay.
I'll visit that. I thought they did a really good job of some of the less popular Dead tunes from the '80s. I really like what is it? The Days Between. I thought sounded really good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway.
Right on.
So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. Check out our website, rockchew.com, for all kinds of fun stuff, including a lot of the bands and baseball facts that we mentioned on the podcast. Also, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at rockinchew, so you can check us out there. And like us on Facebook. And, we'll be checking back in with you soon. So have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you later.
See you next time.
Take care.